Hey everybody, happy Tuesday or so. I'm excited today. I get to talk to my college roommate here, which we're trying to work on inviting him right now. But Eric Wagner was I don't know if you've heard the story of the kids that were out on the that were brought out. Oh, he's trying to get in here right now. So hang on. Wants to be in your video. Bring them in on camera. Add about that event down in Florida where the kids were swept out to sea, and he happened to be the one there. So hey, there you are, buddy.
All right, so that
Good
worked.
deal. Yeah. So I tried to grab a bunch of people to jump on here as well too, because I think it's just going to be such a cool story. And I'm trying to do the videography thing and bring myself up high in the camera. So
Ah,
um, that'll be
correct
cool.
framing,
Yeah,
very
yeah. So
important.
I'm trying to do that. So, but just overall, Eric and I were roommates in college back in the day. Way I don't want to age myself too bad, but it was way back in the day when we had the spiral staircase in the middle of our room. So that was good times. But just, it's amazing. We reconnected probably, it was about 30 years apart. And how much we've probably changed over the years from where we were then to where we were now. But I
You
thought,
look exactly the same.
I do, well, hey, you do except for the beard, I guess, too. So I thought it was going to be awesome to bring you in. When I saw that story, I said, man, I'd love to hear more about this. But without keeping this too long, I figured let's have, maybe if you could just share kind of maybe the short story of it. And I know there's a couple things we wanted to chat about as well, and
Sure,
take it from there. So
and I'll keep it brief. We had a boat that I have that I needed to bring back up to Jersey from Florida. We had a window of opportunity where we had to leave a drop dead date, and of course everything got messed up for multiple reasons. So not only were we off course as far as timing and date, but then we were also off course based on the wind, traveling up the ICW. On a whim, we decided to exit out the St. Augustine Inlet. So therefore, we left there when everything was just fine in the ICW, and the currents are very, very strong. The waves are very strong, but we tried it anyway, sort of as an adventure, but sort of just to see what it was like. When we
mhm.
went out, we realized it was a little too rough and wasn't comfortable. We stuck close to shore, only 2 miles out instead of going 5, 6 like you normally go. And we happened to discover two people out in the ocean that were calling out to us. We scooped them up, brought them into the boat. They were in very serious shape. One was both were shivering. One had white lips. They had a hard time talking. They were shivering. They were very weak, obviously exhausted. We learned that they had been out there for 90 minutes, the first hour trying to swim back against the current, and then the next 30 minutes just treading water and trying to figure out what to do. They had called out to God, and that's the phrase he used. Tyler was the young man's name. He was 17 years old, a high school senior skip day. He said, I called out to God in desperation, and then you guys showed up. So the interesting part of this that makes it even more interesting is the name of my boat is the Amen. When I explained that to both Tyler and Heather, the young couple, of course, got very emotional. They realized just how powerful the whole thing was. Their faith has been strengthened. They're two very faithful kids. It's a wonderful story, and that has strengthened my faith as well. And I've had the opportunity to have a lot of discussions with family and friends about this, and it all revolves around the positive side of faith, around a number of other things, and what we talked about, coincidences. There had
Right.
to be, I don't have time to list them all, but all the coincidences that took us off of our main course and took us away from where we were supposed to be and brought us there. It was one after another after another. Of course, we were blind to the reason why at the time. Looking back, it was so obvious now. But what you and I had talked about before was how often in our lives has somebody popped up a few times, we didn't pay any attention, and then boom, they were there when you need them. Or you find out later there's a reason for them in your life. So while this was an extreme case, saving two people's lives, and I feel blessed that I was able to be there to help them out, but I didn't do anything heroic. Same thing anyone else would have done. Just pulled them out of the water, gave
Right.
them water, called the Coast Guard for medical attention. That's all I did. But the fact that we were lucky, we were in the right place we weren't lucky. We were in the right place at the right time because someone
Hmm.
put us there. We should not have been able to hear their calls of help. They were 200 yards away. We can't hear each other when we're 5 yards away on this boat. It's very loud.
You were telling me this old boat's got like two big old diesel engines in it, and
Yeah,
I mean,
two monster diesel engines are loud as can be. 1977. They're old technology, so they're not quiet. They're not smooth. Plus the wind was howling. We had 15 to 20 knot winds. The waves were choppy, which makes a lot of noise on the boat. And then we were all talking and laughing and having it was the sun was out. It was a beautiful day
right.
from that side of things. So we were enjoying ourselves and really paying attention to each other. And I don't know how we heard them, but we did. And I distinctly heard the scream. I looked around, I didn't see anything, and for a moment I chalked it off. It was the gentleman behind the wheel at the time, Troy Tennis, who kept on looking and kept on looking. And then he's the one that spotted him, and he jerked the wheel around hard. It was easy for us to say it must have been a bird, could have been 1,000, or imaginations, or just the squeak of something in the engine.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was such a faint call for help, you barely could hear it. So that was just one of the many coincidences that were there. But you and I had a couple discussions since then. Colin and I have had the pleasure of reconnecting a while ago because of Facebook. So we chat from time to time, but recently because of this, we spoke live a few times about it. And both of us have had experiences in our lives where there were things that happened where we just can't explain. And if you really pay close attention, you could see why and how. Well, if you want to give credit to a higher being, you can see why and how. I didn't come here to preach religion. I am a Christian. But at the same time, if you believe in something above, or you believe a higher power or any kind of God, you can pay attention to the signs that you're receiving from that person.
You know, when you think back, it kind of bring back the college thing. I think like when we were going through life back then, the blinders were on. We were just kind of going
Oh yeah,
through. It was like it was whatever. And it's just so important to keep your ears open. I know, like I'm in a sales field now, so it's constantly listening to what's around you. What are the opportunities for you to be able to find someone else that may need your services? It's simple as that, and that's just a business standpoint. But I think too, and I want to get your take on this too after this, but I really think as we get older, we're going to go one way or the other. We're either going to start to open our ears more to what might be around us and the opportunities we have to maybe make an impact on someone, or we go the other direction where we just get so clouded with life that we don't hear a thing. We can walk right by it and we wouldn't even see it. Anything come to mind
right.
there?
Yeah, no, Colin, you and I actually briefly talked about this, or at least I brought it up to you. I spent 20 years raising kids, focused on the family, doing my thing. I lost touch with all my friends, lost touch with a lot of very great relationships that I forged in college and high school. And it wasn't until years later that, when the kids are kind of on their way and starting to grow, that I jumped back into it. I regret that. I wish that I had
Mm-hmm.
stayed in contact the whole entire time. I wish I had jumped back into friendships and relationships from the past earlier. Thank goodness things like social media help make that a lot easier, where that didn't exist 15 years ago. So I can excuse it that way. But at the end of the day, the relationships that I have today with old friends, with true friends like yourself, those are the ones I cherish the most. Those are the ones that I realize those are the people that I should be surrounding myself with and spending the time with anyway.
I bumped into, the kind of the other part of it is I bumped into someone yesterday. Somebody who lived down the hall right next to us. He was out doing business out here in Denver and has been for the last he said every 6 months he's out here. So it's just ironic how small the world can be if we let it be that way and we invest in
I
other people. And that's the one thing that this thing really resonated with me on. It's like, man, don't give up on, connecting with people because there's so much more. There's so much more.
we,
There
we
really is.
we yeah, we can all share stories of it's a small world where we've had that event happen and run into things that just make us scratch our heads. Those I believe aren't coincidences. It is a
Hmm.
small world. Those are oftentimes there for a reason. Pay attention and don't let opportunities like that slip by.
Absolutely. Buddy, I could sit here and talk to you forever on this, but I wanted to kind of keep it remotely short. But I hope, I guess our point was when we talked about coincidences, maybe, I don't know if there are, and they're lined up there for us if we can just keep our eyes and ears open. And I think that's what the thing we both wanted to stress. Anybody who's listening to this, um, hopefully you picked up something, and maybe this evening, tomorrow, next week, your eyes and ears will be a little bit more open for what may be coming down the road for you or for someone else more so.
Yeah.
So for
I
you, it was someone else. I mean,
Yeah. Well, it fills my heart with warmth to know that we helped somebody else out. I mean, that part of it was a pleasure, as well as the conversations I've had since. And it is, we can dance around the subject, but at the end of the
sure.
day, I believe there's a higher being. I believe there's a world order coming from that higher being, from a God, and that if we pay attention to those types of signs, that it'll make our lives a lot better and easier. If you don't believe that, that's fine too. But there is something going on here. Pay attention. The world is glued together somehow, and again, it's not a coincidence.
Absolutely. Buddy, hey, Thanks for taking the time, man. I know it's late back there, but you know, it's Jersey time. That's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Eric,
Anything for you, Colin.
thanks again, buddy. Everybody, hope this was helpful for you, and blessed to have Eric on the line here, and we'll stay in touch, brother. Thanks.
All right, take care, Creed.
See you.